Hey friend, Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review, and I'm about to do some babbling today about a band I've been listening to pretty much my entire life since I've been getting into music. I wasn't really sure how to word that, but before we get into any of that, I want to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, because that is what we do here. At least I do. I babble about bands that I love and what they're doing nowadays and whatever comes to mind. People comment, and it's just a fun time. So that's what we do here. So hopefully you're into that. If not, appreciate you checking it out. But that is what we do. And like I said, this is a band I've been listening to my whole life. It's 1/4 of the band at this point of what I was listening to back in the day. I'm talking about Asia, and they have a new live album out called Live in England, and it's pretty much a whole new lineup aside from Jeff Downs, who's there right from the start. But I just, to go recap my kind of like history with the band, I guess, going like way back when I was first starting to like realized I wanted to play music. I was really into bass guitar. I really wanted to play bass. Like Billy Sheehan was kind of from around where I grew up. He was like kind of a sort of a local hero. He was probably about an hour and a half away from where I lived, but he'd come down our area now and then, sneak outside the bars and listen, whatever. And because I was too young to get in. So anyway, you know, ride your bike to whatever it was in the middle of the night, sneak out and listen to the band from outside. That's kind of what we did. But anyway, so I was really into bass, and I remember hearing the song Heat of the Moment, and the guitar like really caught my ear. I'm like, that's what guitar sounds like? That's not like the type of guitar I've heard anything else. And I was like, maybe I want to learn how to play guitar too. So I like simultaneously was learning how to play bass and guitar at the same time, and this was the song that really made me want to learn how to play guitar. And you know, that point on, I got the album. It's like one of the first albums, actually, you know, the whole album, like rock album, I went out and bought it with my own money. And the album cover, everybody knows that album cover, just really drew me in. Not a bad song on it. I just loved every note of this album. I remember when Alpha came out. Still, I was way too young to go to like any concerts. My parents wouldn't let me go to anything. And I remember they played, you know, fairly close to where I grew up, and I was too young to go. But the radio station in that area played a concert review where they took like all the songs and put them in order and just played them all in a row. And I remember me and my best friend, we stayed up until like, I don't know, 1 in the morning or something like that, listening to it. You know, we're talking like, I don't even know if I was a teenager at this point, like 12, 13 years old, something like that. So anyway, you know, just stayed up, listening to the whole thing. So it was just like fun. I just have all these good memories of Asia, and that's, you know, just where it all started. Like a lot of music started for me there. You know, I went back and found all the bands that are involved in King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yes, you know, it all started with Asia. So I mean, I owe Asia a lot to my interest in that style of music, the older prog rock and stuff like that, even though Asia wasn't extremely prog. Got to see them finally a couple different times. I've got to take all my kids to see them at separate times, which is kind of funny, to see them, and so finally did get to see them at some point. But anyway, new band. It's got a newcomer on vocals here. His name is Harry Whitley. Don't know anything about him. From what I understand, he was doing some YouTube stuff, and Jeff saw him and thought he sounded really good. You know, did some Asia songs, and Jeff was really interested in him and contacted him, and that got him in the band. We also have John Mitchell on guitar, who I know from It Bites. I know he's involved in some other stuff. And my memory's kind of failing me a little bit here, but I think John Wetton was involved with It Bites here or there, did something with them, maybe like a song or two. I may be mistaken. I don't know if I'm remembering that right, but correct me if I'm wrong, or if you know what songs I'm talking about, mention them in the comments. And of course, Virgil Donati on drums, who like is a very well-known drummer, especially among drummers. Very technically good and progressive style, maybe the heavier side of things. I don't know everything he's involved in, but I know the name, and I know I've heard him on a ton of different stuff. Planet X comes to mind, but anyway, that's who he's got with him now. So I had heard a couple things. I've seen a couple videos on YouTube, and it was a weird setting. I know it's kind of a thing they do wherever it is. It's in a country club-ish type setting, very, I don't know, intimate, smaller crowd. It just seemed really strange to me, but I'm like, all right, I don't want that to. It looked a little weird to me, so I didn't want that to ruin the listening experience. So I didn't watch anything else. I didn't check out anything else. Waited till I got the CD and just got done listening to it. And I wanted to really like this, and I did really like it, so that's good. That's the good news. Majority of this I really enjoyed. Like the band's tight. Jeff sounds really good. There's a few recordings I've heard of these guys. I've got tons of bootlegs of Asia, different versions of Asia over the years. Some stuff's been a little better than others. Live, sometimes it's been a little rough. Some of the stuff, I mean, even when I saw them, there's a few flubs here and there, but that's the wonderful thing about live. You never know what's going to happen, and it doesn't really bother me. I just, I love this band so much that stuff doesn't bother me. But this band version of it, super tight. They stayed very close to what the originals were. I did notice that Jeff had a few different sounds that have changed over the years, but for the most part, he stuck with what the original recordings had. And I didn't even realize this until about halfway through. I'm like, this is the first album. Like, this is like the playlist, and actually that's what it was. It's just the debut album all the way through. And the nice thing about it was they threw in Ride Easy at the very end, which is funny because I bought the Heat of the Moment single before I bought the album, because I just didn't have enough money to buy the album when I first got it, but I really liked that song. And the B-side of Heat of the Moment, I still have it. It's one of the very few singles I've held on to my entire life. I still have this one because it was like a picture. The sleeve was the picture of the album cover, and the B-side was Ride Easy, which I'm getting to. And I really like that song too. For whatever reason, that song I really, really liked. In fact, I like that better than some of the other songs on the debut. And when I did see them play, one of the times they did do that song, and that was kind of cool. I thought they played it live, even when I saw them, the very first time I saw them actually, when they first got back together, the original guys. I went and saw them. I drove like 2 hours away to see whatever it was, and I remember them doing that, and I thought that was really cool. They did an acoustic version of it though. They didn't do like a full version of it, and this is the full version of it here, just like on the the B-side. And for just fun, they threw in Video Killed the Radio Star, which a lot of people know was Jeff Downes' first band, big band, I guess. I don't know if it was first band or not. The Buggles, a big hit. The very first video ever played on MTV, as a lot of people know. And then they threw in The Heat Goes On at the very end, and just kind of ended with that. One thing I didn't notice till after I was done, that says Asia Night 1 on the cover. So I'm assuming possibly maybe there's more stuff coming. I really don't know. This is they're now signed to Frontiers record label, and I'm sure they want to make some money off the signing. So I don't know if they are going to record any new material or not, but I'm assuming this means there's more than one live album coming. So, which kind of explains why. I don't know. I was trying to figure out why they didn't get John Payne back in the band, but I kind of understand it now. It just seems like they just wanted to start fresh with these new guys. The only little things negatively that I noticed at all is, with some of the parts, and I'm gonna try to say this without trying to offend anybody, but this is just my taste. We all have our own personal tastes, and I appreciate that they stayed very close to what the songs were. And I don't want to call them a cover band, but it's they kind of sort of are. And even though they're well-known people and well-respected people, mostly, like aside from Harry, who I just don't know who that is, the other two guys are very well-respected people in their musical communities. John stayed pretty close to what the original stuff was. Every now and then Virgil was adding his own little flavor, which I get you're going to do, but a couple times it just threw me off. I was like, whoa, what was that? Especially at the end of Heat of the Moment. I don't know. Carl did some of that stuff every now and then too, not quite as much as what Virgil did here. He did it a couple other times. Every now and then, when you hear it and you're so used to these songs are so ingrained in your head, any little tiny thing like that just kind of like you're like, wait, what? So for me, it did that few times here and there. Nothing major. Didn't ruin the song or anything like that, but I just kind of like noticed it and did like a little head turn and whatever. And like I said, Jeff did change some sounds here and there, but not drastically. There's, when it's complete, like I said, these songs are so ingrained, they're like part of my DNA, I think, at this point. So when little tiny things change, you just kind of pick up on it. The other thing I appreciate is I don't think they went in and fixed anything. I like live albums that are live, and because you could hear it's just ever so slightly every now and then a little, a little hiccup. Vocally, when there was like a couple times you strained for it, or timing was off or whatever, didn't fix it, which is fine. That's part of the live experience for me. I like live shows. I love seeing bands live. I kind of think that's what's going to save music anymore with this day and age of AI. I think bands playing live shows are going to come back around. I don't know. I just kind of have that feeling. Maybe I'm way off base. Maybe, I don't know. But I just have that feeling that it's going to make people appreciate and crave live bands more, real musicianship even more, just from hearing all this, like, especially people, my age and around my age. We grew up hearing real music, and that's kind of what we heard and just grew up on, and it's ingrained in us. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I just want to say that I really enjoyed this album, even aside from the tiny two little nitpicky things that I mentioned. I really, really did enjoy this album. I really appreciate that they stayed very true to the original and just kind of honored the legacy of the band, and I really appreciated that about it. So it was fun listening. I hope they continue and go on. John Wetton is just like one of these guys that I love his vocals. I love everything he's done. I've got any bootleg and everything you can possibly think of. I just love the sound of his voice and his singing. I just thought he was such a cool dude. And if these guys are out there keeping that memory alive, I'm really not going to complain about that at all. Even if at all, I'm just not going to. So anyway, on that note, until they release night 2, I guess, we'll see ya.